I love boots.
We are the bootlickers. Actually, we're the Chocobo Chasers, but according to some of our YouTube comments, if you like a certain game that people don't like, you're bootlickers. So, you know what I can say to that is fuck you. That's
Fuck
all
you.
I have to say.
Fuck you.
Welcome
you.
to Chocobo Chasers. It's
Michael Ian 1188, you're a fucking bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you.
It's been a short time since, because we recorded a little bit late last week.
11:48. I'm sorry, 11:48. Fuck you, Michael Ian's 11:48.
We gotta make sure we're getting the right handle here.
Stupid bitch.
We've got some stuff to cover today. So again, it's only been a few days since we last recorded, but there's been actually a pretty good bit of news and some exciting stuff for us to announce. So I'll actually go ahead and start with our big announcement first, because we normally start with what are you playing. We'll get to that here in just a sec. We have had Mike Laidlaw, Jonathan Brousseau on the show. They're both developers as part of the team over at Yellow Brick Games. If you haven't seen any of our coverage of the game, Yellow Brick Games are developing Eternal Strands, which is a very like Zelda Breath of the Wild, Shadow of the Colossus inspired game with some other elements, which looks extremely cool. Like, honestly, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, wishlist it on Steam. You'll want to, it's actually wishlistable also on console now too, which means it's probably a little closer to release than some may think. Anyway, we've had those folks on our show. We're going to be partnering with Yellow Brick Games for Eternal Strands. We're going to have some impressions of the game to be able to go ahead and share. Some of this is actually going to be coming fairly soon. We're just kind of kicking off a lot of this stuff right now with the team. Eric Dash and I are in a Discord with some of the developers. So obviously there's stuff we can't share, just as a part of this relationship, and making sure that, everyone who is excited for the game can not be spoiled by anything, and they're going to have as fresh of an introduction as possible to the game. But man, we are so fucking excited to announce that we have our second game partnership. Eric was especially excited. Eric, I know you're super stoked about it.
I've also got in for the beta for Marvel Rivals through Steam. They had like the access to the Steam page, so we get to test that out. They sent me an email this morning saying I got accepted.
Let me see if I can apply for that too.
Yeah, if you just go to the Steam page, you just hit the link, and it takes about a day, I think.
How long? I was going to ask you how long it took. So I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
And I hit it on Sunday, so like that's probably why it took that long. Like I think if you hit it early enough, you might get it. I'm actually going to go install that. Might try that out.
So that'll be really exciting to be able to share. I mean, we love games, so we want to be able to be
32 gigs. Dang it, man!
That's a pretty sizable game. I mean, that's for an Overwatch size game. Actually, that sounds about accurate.
How big is Overwatch? Well, I don't even have it anymore, so I can't say it. But
yeah, I don't know. I'll have to log into BattleNet.
I want to say it's like 60s.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably bigger. This is a beta, so they're going to exclude a lot of stuff. But hell yeah, we are so fucking excited to be able to share this news with everybody. We're also excited. Obviously, Eric for sure is going to have access to Marvel Rivals, but Dash and I are looking to also see if we can get access, be able to share some more. Let's go ahead and let's kick off. What are you playing? I'll go ahead and I'll get us started this week. I only have 2 games. Obviously, again, shorter time since we recorded last week, but also college football came out. I've been playing a shit ton of that. I'll get to that in a sec. I did play a bunch more of Stellar Blade. It is still awesome. Very, very, very happy with it so
very
far.
Horny.
It is big horny.
Do they have a one-hand game mode?
How do you mute somebody else in the chat?
How to delete somebody else's words.
It's funny because if you look at a bunch of hentai games on Steam, it'll always have in the description of the games can be played with one hand.
Oh my god! I'm disturbed that you know this. Not surprised.
Have you not seen my Steam library?
I get Steam library notifications for hentai stuff now because Dash has it. It'll be like based off your friends playing, and I'll see this. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Like what? What friend? Oh wait, now I know what friend is playing this. So yeah, Stellar Blade, it's great, big horny, a lot of fun. Also, college football. seriously, college football, obviously been waiting 11 years. The wait was worth it, in my opinion. It is a very fun game, but it's not without its critiques. Like, let's talk about it. So Dynasty is a lot of fun. Recruiting is a hell of a lot of fun. It takes a minute to learn. And Dash, Eric, and I were kind of talking about this before the show. One of our critiques is really that there was no like, hey, it's been a long time since a new college football came out. Here's things to know. This is what you're going to want to know going into Dynasty. This is what you're going to want to know going into Road to Glory. And
they actually
because
explain quite a bit in Road to Glory too.
yeah, so it's like you learn because you kind of have to, but there definitely could be the better explaining, some training modes, things of that nature, kind of just talking to you about like what everything means. Luckily, obviously, there's a lot of YouTube resources. There's a lot of our friends who play the game who've helped us along the way. The whole process, it's been a lot of fun. But again, the game is not without its critiques. It is really hard, especially compared to Madden. There are definitely a lot more game-breaking plays in this game, especially compared to Madden as well, I'd say. Just because there's also a lot more introduction of trick plays and this is probably kind of a fair comparison from actual college football to the NFL in the sense that play recognition is much worse at the college level than it is at the NFL level. And so the idea that you could get away with a lot of these things makes a little bit more sense. That being said, I'm playing with Utah State, my alma mater. Took them to an 11-3 record, bowl game in the first season. We're in our second season right now. I am off of work this entire week before I wait to start my new job. So I'm playing a shit ton of video games this week. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see how that progresses, and I'm excited. But that's about it for me. Again, pretty short week, so not a ton. Dash, what about you?
All right, I'll start off with saying I knocked off Dragon Age Inquisition, so we are ready for Veilguard, which
Let's go.
exciting news for Veilguard is we got that cast revealed
We did.
just today too, so a lot of familiar faces in there. We'll talk about that later though, but I'm ready for Veilguard. I got what I'm going to consider is my perfect world state to import into that, but doesn't sound like they're keeping Dragon Age Keep anyways. It sounds like when you start Veilguard, it's going to ask you what choices you made in the previous game, essentially. Which I'm hoping that some of the choices you actually make a major impact. Like, I kept my Inquisition together instead of disbanding it. And, they tell you, it's like, oh yeah, you're going to be more prepared to take on Solas, but you're more open to corruption. Well, hopefully, compared to some of the previous choices from the Dragon Age games that really just affected dialogue choices and maybe a letter you got, there wasn't any major changes to the story in the next game because of it. And that's always been kind of one gripe I've had with the series overall. So hopefully they make a difference on that, but we'll see. It's been 10 years since Inquisition, and I mean, depending on how major these choices are, you end up having to develop a wholly different game at that point for depending on the choice. So I can understand why they don't do it that way. Also, a lot of college football, just like G and Eric, I'm sure. So I finally got my chance. I went straight into Road to Glory mode. That's kind of what I enjoyed. It might be my memory, but I think NCAA 14 Road to Glory was a bit more in-depth still and a bit better from what I recall, but I'm going off of a 10-year-old memory at this point, so it's hard for me to exactly rely on it, but it's still really good. I made my character, I started off with a wide receiver. I think I went with like the physical wide receiver template, which in looking back at it now, I should have probably gone deep threat because that probably would have been a lot better stat wise and play wise. Because I'm wide receiver 1, and I'm getting taken out for like 2 full quarters of the game, and I'm not getting fucking plays at all. So I don't know what kind of logic it uses for what packages I'm supposed to be playing in, but maybe playing as a quarterback or running back is probably a better way to get more engagement in the game. But junior year, we did actually go to the national title and won. So I got a bit ahead of myself. I was I just chose to go to Purdue. If you didn't know, I'm a Purdue graduate, so might as well just go with Purdue there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can control as one little wide receiver, and like I didn't get any kind of like player of the week kind of shit that often unless I really went out of my way to like not even run the right route just to get rack up stats and touchdowns and shit. But it was really good. I played my full 4 years for Road to Glory. I'm probably going to try a quarterback or running back next. I thought that you only get 5 positions to choose from, which I thought you could choose like tight end previously in the
You could
previous
choose,
game.
I think, every position except for O-line in the previous iteration.
Yep.
So
the 5 positions you get are wide receiver, quarterback, running back. I think it was middle linebacker and cornerback. So
you can't even play safety.
R.I.P. my safety dreams.
That's fucking lame.
I didn't. I might be wrong on the 2 defensive positions at least, but I think those were what those 2 were.
Even still, it's a lack of like availability, which you feel like should be there.
So I did start my dynasty mode after that, and I only got, I think, 2 games in, which was I chose to be the coach of UCF, which is probably the closest college in my area, probably like 45, 50 minutes away from me.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that DLC that they're doing to add like the lower rank schools, like I know Tony's team.
FCS school, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's
Eric's alma mater, right?
Yeah.
That is, yes. Southeastern Louisiana, baby.
Yeah.
Southland Conference for life.
I'm not sure if that includes Stetson University, which is actually the local football team we have here in my home city I live in currently. Which, fun fact, it's also where they filmed The Water Boy. So that's the Mud Dogs football stadium I can drive by any day.
The real Mud Dogs are gonna kick some Cougar ass.
But that's pretty much it for college football. It's probably going to be a while for me to get through the dynasty because I'm the mad lad that makes my 15-minute quarters because I want it to be as authentic.
You're going to have like 100 passes per game. Dude, I'm playing 6-minute
so
quarters.
So I turn on
6-minute quarters and I threw for 800 yards.
So I turn on that play clock acceleration so that it burns through the clock quicker too.
Even still,
that would take forever. There's no way.
It's going to take you so long.
How long does it take you to play a game? It takes me like an hour to play on 6 minutes.
Really? It takes like an hour to run through like 15-minute quarters. Like I said, that play clock acceleration can really burn through the time quickly.
Because goddamn.
I don't know. That's just the way I like to do it. I know that's not what a lot of people do, but it hasn't been too crazy for my stats, but I'm also not trying to go like crazy with my play calling either to like get...
Oh, I eat that fucking ball.
Fuck that. I'm putting them in the dirt every fucking play.
I put up 100 with Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter the first year.
I mean, I'm not going to say I did have 2 100-yard running backs on my team in the first game.
Hey,
it is what it is.
If you got them, you do it. So.
The trick plays are a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of options, a lot of screen passes and shit. More than you ever really get playing Madden, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The third game I played, and I only got about an hour or 2 playing it right before this, but I saw it was on Game Pass, and it was definitely one that I've been keeping an eye on since it was shown in the past couple showcases. Kinnitsu Gami Path of the Goddess. So that's the one from Capcom.
Yeah.
Where it's very interesting. It's like an action strategy hybrid kind of game. So basically you have all these different stages, and it has a day-night cycle. During the day, you're going around, you rescue villagers, collect resources, spend the resources to kind of like open up the path for the god or the priestess to follow. And as you're opening up the path, she follows. And once it hits night time, she'll stop wherever she is, and you can assign the villagers different kinds of jobs like woodcutter or archer, and you can position them around her or wherever on the map like choke points to as waves of enemies are coming throughout the night, and as you kill the enemies, you collect their resources so you can continue opening up the path until you get to the gate. So you can replay some of these stages because there's the sub objectives to unlock more stuff and upgrades for your characters. The action part really isn't too in depth. Like, there's no complex move sets or anything like that. You can unlock different kinds of special moves as you play through the game, and then after you complete a stage, you'll open up the boss stage, where it's just essentially just defeating the boss as quickly as you can. It's really cool, and it's kind of like almost like a tower defense almost, because you can position your archers in a way to cover flying enemies that might come from angles that you can't get them. But so far I've only gotten 2 classes. The first part of the game, you kind of get a taste of what it's going to be like near the end game, because you just get thrown into a boss fight with a whole bunch of villagers with all these different classes already assigned to them. But it's a boss fight that you're not really meant to win.
Gotcha.
But really
it sounds
interesting.
Very different than what I had initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, that it was like, I think when we first saw that reveal, we thought it was going to be like an Onimusha type game.
Yeah.
It's not. It's, there's really not much customization for your character. It's kind of like you get the currency, you use the points to upgrade the different archetype jobs, and then you also unlock like different little charms that you can attach. So like, it'll increase your health, or it'll increase the damage you do, kind of stuff. So there really isn't much more to it, unless maybe there's more and I just haven't unlocked it yet. I mean, I'm still going off of only 2 hours, but really good game. I'm glad I definitely checked it out, and I'll probably try to reach till completion. I'm sure it's not too long of a game.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a week to do it, so I'm excited to hear more about it.
I'm not in a rush, but I will definitely probably play more by the time we do the next episode. So that's
Awesome.
it for me.
And Eric.
So I have also played a good bit of college football 25. I finished 3 seasons of my dynasty. Colorado, 3 straight natties.
That is nasty work, man.
Like we talked about pre-pod, the recruiting actually is a lot of fun. Like, it's competitive. I'm fighting for everybody. I lose so many recruits last minute. I had my first top 10 class this past season. The other ones were like 22 and then 18. And I tell you what, like it's kind of frustrating too, because like as you're recruiting stuff, like it doesn't really tell you your roster size until it's time to cut players. And so I came in with this recent class I got, the top 8 class, and I was like 20 players over my roster limit.
Shit.
But the guys that wanted me to cut were all like sophomores and because you can't cut any of the guys you just gave cut scholarships to, or like transfers or anything like that. So like I'm giving out all of 35 scholarships a year, but my roster's got way too many people because I have a young team and I've rebuilt the team up and everything like that.
Right.
And it's kind of frustrating getting rid of a bunch of 80 overall players who were, like redshirt sophomores who are going to be pretty good next season. Because I just got the stats to where like I do like the coachability builder. I don't know if y'all have messed with that too much. I like that a lot more than Madden's. Because you can like go out and spread it out a little bit. I have the one where like all your off season, like your players in the off season get boost to their overalls for training. So like I started out with recruiting and I maxed out that first part, and now I'm on the second part trying to get trying to get that. But I also have delved out into other things. Like the CEO part's pretty good. Apparently you can get insta commits. Back in like the old NCAA's, I don't know if you remember those from recruiting. You'd get insta commits first week sometimes. So that's pretty fun. But kind of like what you're talking about, like the commentary is not good in the game. It's very lifeless.
It's not. Yeah, and the way that it's, I mean, I mentioned this like prior to us recording. It's the way that the developers have put it together. It's so unorganic. Like it does not, like it'll say like, and they played, and then like a 2-second pause, and it's like Alabama. Like it just, the way that the words fit together just doesn't work super well.
That and it's very easy. So one, offense is incredibly easy. If you can't score in this game, you got issues, man. Because I'm on. Look, it's not like I'm playing on Heisman. I'm playing All American, but
Right.
I've had multiple less than 10-second drives. Just one play, heave the ball downfield, touchdown. I've also given up tons of big run plays. It's just a lot of big plays constantly. It's kind of frustrating. Yeah. It kind of takes you out of like don't get me wrong, college has those games where it's big play, but it's also got games where it's just almost 90% blowouts. That's why I don't really vibe with a lot of college football, because 90% of the games are just big blowouts.
Yeah.
I mean, you get some of the big games, and those are great games, and they are fun to watch, but most college football just doesn't excite me like pro does.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it makes sense. It's a bunch of amateurs playing. Then
I am having fun. It's nice to be back in college football. I think we talked about it a little bit. This needed more time in the oven to bake a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do regret spending the $30 extra to play it right now.
Aha! Victory!
Yes. I will admit it. If you paid the $30 extra and you're happy with it, good for you. Not that I'm unhappy with it. I think I mean, look, there's a lot of good games on Steam you can get for $30.
It's true. Or you can treat yourself to a nice little dinner. There's a bunch of. You know how many movies you could go see, Eric?
Oh man,
you can get Crusader Kings
Tuesday
3 for $20 right now.
You can go see Deadpool and Wolverine 5 times.
Yes. I did play Crusader Kings 3 a lot yesterday. I played the shit out of it yesterday, almost all day. The fiance was out of town, so I took full advantage and I gained my ass off yesterday. I started a new campaign. I did one where we sided with Rhaegar. Rhaegar killed Robert at the Trident. Let me tell you, that was boring, man, because we didn't go to war a single time after that. Like, nobody everybody likes Rhaegar, man. Nobody likes
Rhaegar the Peaceful.
Yeah, Robert just immediately went in there and became a tyrant, wanted to revoke everybody's rights, and wanted more levies and taxes, and I probably fought 4 or 5 rebellions trying to keep Robert on the throne.
Holy fuck.
In like a 10-year span. The Greyjoys and the Tyrells were having none of Bobby B. And
here comes Beesbury.
Finally, I just got tired of helping him, so I just joined the rebels.
Oh shit!
And then we took him off the throne.
Oathbreaker.
You can start factions for other people who can claim the throne, and so fortunately, I have one of the submods called a GOT. It's a GOT plus, so it brings in canon children from the book series and the show. Okay. So Jon Snow is actually able to be born with this mod. And so Jon Snow, I took him as a ward because Ned didn't. So I raised him at Harrenhal. And as soon as I got the opportunity, I fucking made a claimant faction for him. The Tyrells backed me. The Dornish backed me. The Greyjoys backed me. Ned Stark and Bobby B sided together. But you know what? They got smashed. Robert was killed in battle. We put Jon Snow on the throne, and you know what? We're going to see what happens from here. Maybe some Blackfires will want to come out. We'll see what happens.
Hell yeah, man! That actually sounds really cool.
I really need to get this game. It's on sale. I might just pick it up.
There's a couple DLCs you need to make the Game of Thrones mod better. Tours and tournaments. There's one that
I can get all the DLC for $80.
That's not. So all the DLCs definitely aren't worth it because a lot of them suck.
Okay.
But there's 3 or 4 that are really good. Like tours and tournaments really, really makes the GOT experience better because, I mean, George Martin talks about tournaments all the time. I mean,
all the time.
The Tournament of Harrenhal is a huge backdrop to the whole Song of Ice and Fire book series.
Yeah.
And so it's I played some Valorant too. Had played a couple games on Saturday night. We had a good time. Played one game yesterday. Was 2-8 going into half, and then finished the game as team MVP, match MVP. So it was nice.
Let's go.
Held my team down in the first half. We were losing. Brought us back in a second and clutched it for us.
Had us in the first half, not going to lie.
Call an ambulance, but not for me.
Hell yeah. Well, so obviously in addition to the games we played this week, Dash mentioned it a little bit earlier. The Dragon Age cast got announced. Veilguard is coming out this fall. We still don't have an exact release date, I don't think.
It's crazy. We haven't gotten one.
Yeah.
There's 5 months still left in the year at this point.
I think this is, when they say fall, I think they mean like winter, and I think that we're probably like a Black Friday-ish release is probably what we're looking at.
We have San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. I
We
think
do.
we might get a release date this weekend.
We might, which San Diego Comic-Con does have quite a bit of gaming news, so obviously we'll be recapping anything crazy that gets announced there. But I mean, you've got people that are going to be parts of this cast. One, we've got the returning voices of Solas, and is it Varric or Varric? Varric. So Gareth David
And
Lloyd
Harding.
and Brian Bloom are going to be returning from previous iterations from Dragon Age. God, for some reason my brain just turned off. Yeah, for Veilguard, looks awesome. Very excited to see this game. I am going to do a Dragon Age playthrough just like Dash did here very soon, so that I can hopefully get a little bit more.
Have fun with Inquisition. That's the one that's not fun to replay, in my opinion.
So I've never finished it, so this would be more of a first playthrough for me. So I think it'll still be pretty fun.
It has a great way to set up Veilguard 2 at the end.
I don't want to go back and play it and then be disappointed, because I loved the game when I first played it, so I'm not going to do that to myself.
And it's crazy because Inquisition was like up there in Game of the Year contender.
It did win Game of the Year, I think.
Yeah, against Witcher 3.
No. Witcher 3 came out that like following fall.
Following I'm pretty spring. Sure they were going up against each other that year.
No, it came out the fall before Witcher 3 came out. And Witcher 3 came out in that spring. It came out in like May or something like that.
We're going to settle this here in just a sec. So Dragon Age Inquisition was nominated for Game of the Year by several different publications. So if we're going off of like Jeff Keighley's like the Game Awards, I think it did win.
So November 18th, 2014, Inquisition came out. May 18th, 2015, Witcher 3 came out.
So 2014 is actually the Game Awards' very first Game of the Year winner.
Yep.
The Witcher 3 was the second. So
yeah, Witcher 3 deserved it.
And Overwatch was third, which is
interesting.
Crazy to think nowadays in the current state of Overwatch.
Yeah, very, very wild to think about. As we transition to this next, part of the conversation here. So Dash and I mentioned last week that we played Concord. The open beta was actually this weekend. A lot of people obviously played it. The clip at the very beginning of the show this week was in response to somebody who thinks that we're being paid by Sony. I would love to be paid by Sony, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't even play it, but if they paid us, I would say it's good. I have no. Yeah. I'll be a grifter. You have no fucking clue.
Zero problem.
I guess I'm the odd one out. I have to stand true on what I believe, but
you broke bitch.
He's the Uncle Baby Bailey. Why are you doing this, Uncle Baby Bailey? Because I'm selfless.
Because I'm selfless.
But no, so we played Concord and we liked it. It's not to say that we didn't have things that we would like. There were legitimate critiques of the game itself, but it was fun. Like I don't think that is like this crazy thing to say. It was a lot of fun, but there are some fixes that they need to go ahead and make. So Dash, this will probably be at least us to start, and then this is going to graduate into a broader conversation. So how do you think we fix Concord? What are the two major things that you think we need to do to make Concord a better game?
So, I mean, looking at the Steam numbers, obviously, I don't even think it broke 3,000.
It's pretty disappointing.
And this is an open beta. It's free to play. It doesn't hurt you to even try it. But
they put it out on a bad week to come out because everybody's playing college football.
It was.
You can't play college football on PC though, so I mean, there's not a competition and market there, at least for people who don't have consoles.
That's true.
But like, we don't know the numbers for the PlayStation players either. So
yeah,
that's another question mark. But I guess the question is, how will Sony address this low turnout, at least for PC? will it go to be a free-to-play game like some people think it should be instead of the $40 price mark? Another thing I have to ask is, should it be a multiplayer only game when they could potentially take advantage of what Overwatch 2 initially promised? You could have a single player mission based kind of thing built into the game, and it justifies that $40 price point a bit more, because I feel like if it's just this multiplayer only, it's going to get stale pretty quickly.
Yeah. And again, this evolves into a broader conversation, and that's, is this market, and that is just this multiplayer game market, is it oversaturated right now? I think the answer is yes, but it's a little complicated, right? Because we've seen Sony, and you use Sony here because they're kind of the example, but so Sony literally launched Helldivers earlier this year to massive success. We've seen that taper off quite a bit because that's the nature of multiplayer games. Unless you have new ongoing content, and in Helldivers' case, it's really only cosmetics that are really changing. There's a few new
people
guns
playing right now.
It's still solid, but
Yeah.
compared to where it was, it's fallen quite a bit. Not to say that it's going anywhere. I mean, I as soon as the Illuminate drop, I do think that you'll see a huge infusion of characters, or infusion of players. But this market, you've got your Destiny, you've got Overwatch, which a game that is so hated by its fan base, and then so beloved by others. It's kind of funny. You've got Valorant. You've got Tarkov, and it's not to say that these games are all the same, but they're just part of this ecosystem that is the only reason it exists is for multiplayer. You've got your like Call of Duty, because I mean, who's playing single player Call of Duty right now? Honestly, you've got Fortnite. Somehow PUBG is still alive. You've got, and there's other games too, but there's this market. There's always room for new players to enter in. I mean, we just saw Splitgate 2 get announced this past week. And I remember playing Splitgate when it first announced. It was a free-to-play shooter.
Yeah, I played it for 2 weeks.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah,
I very early Halo feel, which, I mean, that's awesome. But, you know, we'll see if Splitgate 2 can reproduce that. But again, it's going to be entering in this market that is so hard to get into. And there's a few factors which vary into. Most of these games, just like Dash mentioned, they're free to play. Other games which aren't free to play, Helldivers, have one of the more satisfying game loops. Overwatch 1, again, had this satisfying game loop. And the games that are free to play, they are making their money elsewhere. They're going to give you options for cosmetics. They're going to give, and in some cases, they're going to give you pay to win options too, which kind of suck, but that's unfortunately just the nature of it. So my advice for the makers of Concord is just like Dash said. I don't necessarily know that they need to go free to play, but I do think there has to be a reduction in price. I don't think there's anything to justify spending $40.
I mean, it all depends on how their monetization after you spend that $40 ends up being. Is it going to be like they should follow Helldivers' route where there's a way to earn this premium currency that I know they're going to have in game. You don't cap how much you can earn in it, and it gets more player engagement because people are going to play more if they can earn this currency instead of having to buy it. And hopefully, I'm not sure, like, are they going to make us buy a season pass every 2-3 months? What's the cosmetic microtransactions going to be like? There's just so many questions that we don't have answers for.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to keep a lot of people away from this game because they don't know what to expect at this point. Yeah,
I would definitely agree with that. But no, it's the market is just, it is so flush with games, which again, that's a great thing. Like having so many options is not a bad thing in this case. We want to be able to play shooters. We want to play, different kind of like strategy style games. and these Overwatch style games, I'm not really sure what the correct term would be for them, but they're
It's like, I guess, just a hero,
like a hero shooter kind of a thing.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and that's what I've seen some people say is that the hero shooter genre is oversaturated as it is. But I couldn't think of too many that would fit into the Concord veil. I mean, you got Overwatch, soon to be Marvel Rivals. I'll put Valorant in there. Paladins. Let's say Apex Legends. I can't think many more after that. Oh,
yeah.
We need more PvE games, honestly. I know there's a lot of push for PvP because that's really where a lot of multiplayer games find their stride, but PvE games like Helldivers really have their own need too, and I prefer to play with people than against people.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. But it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of like input Sony takes from this and how it gets implemented into Concord and how they can continue to try and make it a successful game. Because again, there is a good game there. There is some things that you have to be able to do in order to make it completely successful. So, one last bit of news that we wanted to touch on before the end of the show. We have made it a point, obviously, to call out studios when we've seen layoffs, when we've seen just kind of negative shit that's been happening across the industry. Well, a pretty positive thing actually happened that's very related to those things, and that's Bethesda has decided to unionize, which, it makes a ton of sense. Obviously, this is post-Microsoft acquisition. We've already seen Microsoft, close some of these studios, and Bethesda is too big of a studio for them to just outright close. But those workers, they want to feel protected. You've got people who are working on some incredible games. You've got a new Elder Scrolls in the works. Like obviously there has to be a new Fallout in the works. They've got the new Blade game is coming out of Arcane, which is again part of kind of that whole network. Those people need to be protected, and this is an amazing way for them to continue to do that. So happy to see that hopefully this is going to mean less layoffs for that, for those offices. I am very curious to see if this is going to make this more of a common thing across the industry, especially for studios who are part of larger corporations, those under Sony, those under Nintendo, those kinds of things. But again, it's just going to be something to watch out for. So
there's a big difference that you can see with game studios that retain their talent versus the ones that constantly are cycling through people. So
absolutely.
I think this is a move for the better for Bethesda, and I think we'll see better overall quality of games from them because of it.
Yeah. And I think it's just a way to protect people's livelihoods, which is again been a just absolute shit show over the last.
You don't think From Software is laying off people constantly?
No,
they keep their people.
Yeah, they're one of a kind, though. I'll say that.
It's more you see it in the foreign game developer studios than the more American ones, especially.
And a big part of that is leadership.
Yep.
You see leaders stepping up and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to let that happen," as opposed to, "Well, we'll see what the market says."
Wasn't like Miyamoto at Nintendo was taking pay cuts because they weren't performing well instead of laying off people.
Instead of Bobby Kotick taking $200 million bonuses, which could have saved thousands of jobs. But I digress. So. I think that's about it from my end. You guys got anything else you wanted to touch just while we got the time here?
No, we got a good one this week.
All right, boys. Well, hey, again, we are so excited to be announcing our partnership with Yellow Brick Games and Eternal Strands. We cannot wait to share more of the game with you guys. Until next week, guys, it's been a pleasure, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening.